Today we are going to talk about British English versus American English. 26 words that differ in stress. I'll go through as much as I can. So I'm going to call this part 1 because we only have about 15 minutes to go through these words. I'll do as much as I can. But I also want to tell you that we have done a series before comparing British English and American English words in terms of spelling and vocabulary. We've done that before with my guest, but today I want to focus on word stress. Okay, so today's topic is British English versus American English, 26 words that differ in stress. Okay, so I hope you're ready. I hope you're going to take down these words and practice. And if you're not going to take down these words, but at least if you're listening, I want you to repeat after me. Now let's do this. Now, first, let me explain that British English words and American English words that are covered in today's episode are words that are spelled the same, but are stressed differently. That means that I'll talk about stress after this, but it also means that it might be pronounced differently as well. So that's why I want you to practice with me, follow along with me, copy, right? So I want you to hear how you really sound, okay? So firstly, what is word stress? When one of the syllables is given more importance than the rest, right? When one of the syllables in a word is given more importance than the rest, that's what we mean by word stress. So we have to use our voice, and there are 3 ways to do this. So we make our voice slightly louder, right? To say that particular syllable louder and longer. So you stretch out that syllable a little bit compared to the others, the rest of the syllables, and then higher pitched, okay, a bit higher pitched. So if you can see me right now, I'm like lifting my fingers or lifting my chopstick higher. So higher, you have to go a bit higher. Okay. So for example, I'm going to give you 2 words. The first word is speak. That contains only 1 syllable, speak. But if I want to say speaking, that's a 2-syllable word, speaking, right? I have to stress on speak. So it would be speaking. This will help you to sound clear, and it also helps your listener understand you better. So what is word stress? Word stress is when you stress on one of the syllables. That means you make it higher, longer, and louder. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now, there are things to note. In British English, generally, the stress is on the first syllable. Okay, not all, but generally, the stress is on the first syllable. Okay, but there are a few exceptions, as I've said. So we have the word address, and advertisement. So address contains 2 syllables, address, and then dress is the one that you stress. And this word, advertisement, 4 syllables. Advertisement, the stress falls on the 2nd syllable. Okay, so those are just a few exceptions that I'm going to cover today. And so to help me read these words out loud, I'll be reading the transcriptions from www.oxfordlearnersdictionaries.com. And the primary stress is marked with a raised vertical line at the beginning of the syllable. Okay, so you'll see that if you look at the screen, if you're watching with me on Facebook, you will see the primary stress, which will be marked with a line. A line looks like a number 1, just at the beginning of the syllable. Okay, that will help me to read out loud, and hopefully it will help you as well. Okay. So the first word is adult. Okay, it means a fully grown person, and in British English, you'd stress on the first syllable, as in adult, And in American English, the stress falls on the second syllable, adult, adult. So let's compare that again. We have adult and adult, right? Adult, adult. Though you may hear the British pronounce it as adult as well, adult. And American English, they might also say adult as well, adult. So I just want you to hear the differences. It's not like fully set, like only British English say it like this and only American English would say it like that. Okay, it's not like 100% set, but I want you to hear the differences. The second word is advertisement. So in British English, the stress falls on the second syllable, advertisement. It means basically, I think you all know what it means, like a notice or a picture or a film or a video telling people to buy your product, okay? Or to apply for a job advertisement, right? A job advertisement. So in American English, the stress falls on the third syllable. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. It would be advertisement. Advertisement. It's not advertisement, but advertisement. Okay? An informal way of saying this word, if it's very long, it's a very long word, you can say ad, an ad, or in British English, you can call it as an advert, an advert. Okay? Because it's a very long word, sometimes you just want to cut it short. Okay. The third word is something that we often use because it's a very common word, address, and I've actually mentioned this word earlier on. So it's basically where somebody lives or works, okay? So in British English, it would be address, address. It sounds like, oh, I'm wearing a dress, but that's how it is. The stress falls on the second syllable, address. But in American English, we have two ways. They also have address, but they also have address. So let's pay attention to this one, address. So you stress on the first syllable, address. So let's say I'm going to ask you, what's your email address? Or what's your email address? They're both fine. Which one's easier for you? Okay. For me, I would say, I know we say address actually. Sometimes I say address. I don't really know. I just do both. Right. The fourth word is brochure. So let me spell it out to you. Brochure. Brochure. Basically, it means a small paper document that contains pictures and information about something similar to an advertisement, but now it's in paper form. All right. It's to advertise something, to advertise your product. So in British English, the stress falls on the first syllable, brochure, brochure, and in American English, the stress falls on the second syllable, brochure, brochure. And they would say the R clearly as well, brochure. Okay, so you can repeat after me. Let's do that again. So it's brochure, brochure. In American English, it's brochure, brochure. Okay. How are you guys doing? Are you guys doing okay? The fifth word, buffet. Buffet. So I'm not going to say it out loud yet, but basically, I hope you understand it's like a meal that's laid out on a table where diners, people who go there to eat, diners, that's a good word, diners serve themselves, right? So they go to this table where there's food laid out, food and drinks, and so you have to serve yourself. As a guest, you have to serve yourself. So in British English, it's buffet or buffet. Okay, buffet. So it's buffet or buffet. So the stress falls on the first syllable. While in American English, the stress falls on the second syllable. So it's buffet, buffet. So let's compare that again. It's different because we have the British version. Let's pick buffet instead, buffet. In American English, the vowel is different. So it's buffet, buffet, and stress falls on the fey part. Okay, all right. Do you guys enjoy going to a buffet? Buffet? So it could be a party, a wedding, and there'll normally be a long queue. Okay. The sixth word is CAFE. It's a place where you can buy drinks and light refreshments normally. And so in British English, it would be cafe, cafe. So the stress falls on ca. But in American English, the stress falls on the second syllable, cafe, cafe. So let's do it again. Cafe, British English, American English, cafe, cafe. So it's spelled C-A-F-E. Above the E, there might be a diacritic mark. So it shows that there's an accent there, cafe. But sometimes it's spelled without that mark. Okay. Now, I want to also highlight two things here. You can either choose in a cafe or at a cafe, right? What do I mean by in a cafe or at a cafe? So we're using two different prepositions here. When I'm saying I'm inside a building, I would say I'm in a cafe. I'm having coffee in the cafe. That means I'm inside the building, right? So if I'm calling my friend, I say I'm having coffee in the cafe. Meet me in the cafe. I'm inside. But if I say at a cafe, or at a cafe, that means I'm talking about it as a general location. So I can say, listen, I'll wait for you at the cafe. I'll wait for you at the cafe, or I'll wait for you at the cafe, right? Depending on the stress, right? That means that it can be inside or outside the cafe. Okay. So I want you to practice saying these words, and I want you to also know which preposition to use, in or at. Okay. Number 7, caffeine, right? Caffeine, C-A-F-F-E-I-N-E. That's a chemical or a drug found in coffee and tea that stimulates you. All right, so normally when I wake up in the morning, I love to grab a coffee because I just love to have a jolt of caffeine in my body. So in British English, the stress falls on the first syllable, caffeine, caffeine. And in American English, it's caffeine. The stress falls on the second syllable, caffeine. So let's do that again. Caffeine versus caffeine, caffeine. So if you're the type who cannot live without caffeine, you're like me. But sometimes you have to say, oh my goodness, I need to avoid caffeine. It gives me a headache. So that's all the time we have for in this week's episode. Join me again next time when we'll cover more words that differ in stress. See you guys next week. Bye.